It's Bro Tap!
Bro Tap is uniquely trained and highly motivated. A specialist without equal, immune to any countermeasures. There is no secret he cannot extract, no security he cannot breach, no person he cannot become. He has most likely anticipated this very conversation and is waiting to strike in whatever direction we move.
I am Ripper, Tearer, Slasher, Gouger. I am the chief in the darkness, the challenge in the night. Mine is strength and lust and power. I am
Roll Tap!
All right. This is strictly for the playback. I know everybody's busy. It's the weekend. Maybe you're at church. Maybe you're spending time with family. Maybe you have a barbecue going. It's really nice outside. For example, I have the Fast and the Furious plus Biker Boys going on outside. So, people have things to do. However, the section of the YouTube sphere, these YouTube streets, as stated by Denise Gonzalez, these YouTube streets been crazy these last few weeks. Okay, things been going kind of really fast and furious and hectic. So what we got to do is
let's slow it down. Let's slow it way down.
I want to actually do something more calm. All right, more calm. If we do have some mods in here, I want you guys to maybe take charge and not let these interruptions, because I know the slow taps, they are fixated on us. They're fascinated with what we're doing at any given time, right? Even when you see like there's only about 7 people here, especially if you don't recognize all 7 people, the slow taps are here. They're doing what's called gay ops. Nothing to do with LGBTQIA community. Gay ops is a term for when you come in to disrupt something with meaningless nonsense. It's called gay ops. So they come in and do these sorts of things, and they engage in burning daylight. Okay, so if you guys see any of these,
Stay kids.
I need you guys to show them the door and give them this on the way out. Now, let's get on to today's show.
You, turn around.
You prefer the view from behind?
No, well, yes. You know I can't lie.
Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a few things for you guys. There have been a lot of interesting articles that have come through, and a lot of them bear some relevance to things that we've been discussing these past few weeks. Okay, not necessarily things like what happened with Creyente, but other things that have happened and been discussed on the live streams. Right. These things, they're kind of connected to what I have found on the internet that have been occurring. And I do want to actually start reading some of this stuff. If you bear with a player for a second, let me line this up. I should have had this prepared, but life being what it is, brother had things to do, you know what I'm saying? But how's everyone doing, on this fine Sunday? Press 1 if you're doing all right. Press 2 if you could be doing better, right? I could be doing better. Now, I ain't gonna lie. Now, hold on. All right. I need you to press A. Press A if you can hear the music and my voice at the same time. Press B if you can't. Press C if you could hear one but not the other. All right, good. Now, it's reading time. It's your reading time. The American killing fields gave rise to a very different sort of Negro, right? And this Negro is owed things in this country, despite what anyone tries to tell you. And many people, including conservatives, including even black conservatives, try to tell you that slavery happened a long time ago, Jim Crow happened a long time ago, redlining and all these sorts of inequities happened a long, long time ago. You never lived through them, so why are you complaining? Okay? They tell you all of these things as a distraction. It's a distraction because other people are getting what's owed to them. These small hats, for example, people of the Hebrew variety, they constantly get payments that go to Israel, right? And even things domestically in the United States, they get payments. The Japanese who suffered through World War II, they get payments, believe it or not. And so why is it whenever it's Black Americans who stick their hand out saying, hey, give me what's owed me, we think of it as begging. When it's other people, we think of it as what's due. When Black Americans do it, we think of it as begging. And we tell them things like,
pound that then. Talking about slavery like you was around back then. Like you was picking cotton off the fucking ground back then. Like you was on the plantation getting down back then.
I mean, that's a good point. It's like, why we talking about slavery? You run the slave. If you watching this video, you're alive. If you're not a ghost, if you're not a poltergeist, you were not alive during slavery. So what does that got to do with you? What does that got to do with you?
For those of you who didn't hear it, there was a song around 2017 by somebody, I don't care who it is. It's one of those rappers. And it was basically a conversation piece between the right position and the left position politically in the United States concerning Black people and white people, okay? And this is Anthony Bryan Logan, a Black conservative, and here's one of the talking points that he extracts, or actually he's handed over from the white conservatives, and he keeps propagating it onto us as if that's going to make a difference.
Pound that, talking about slavery like you was around back then. Like you was picking cotton off the ground back then. Like you was on the plantation getting down back then.
I mean, that's a good point. That's a good point. Why we talking about slavery? You run the slave. If you watching this video, you're alive. You're alive. If you're not a ghost, if you're not a poltergeist, you were not alive during slavery. So what does that got to do with you?
That would be a very good point, honestly, if every couple of years we don't get some sort of scientific research that asserts that we can actually get trauma from our forefathers and foremothers. Okay? Here we go. Reading time with your brother Brotep. Our children and grandchildren are shaped by the genes they inherit from us. But new research is revealing that experiences of hardship or violence can leave their mark too. In 1864, nearing the end of the US Civil War, conditions in the Confederate prisoner of war camps were at their worst. But there was such overcrowding in these camps that the prisoners, Union Army soldiers from the North, each had the square footage of a grave. Prisoner death rates soared. For those who survived, the harrowing experience marked many of them for life. They returned to society with impaired health, worse job prospects, and shorter life expectancy. But the impact, let me blow this up in case anyone's reading along. You can see I'm not, because you know what? I am that pedantic that I could actually make this up if I wanted to, verbally, but I'm not making this up. They wrote this. While their sons and grandsons had not suffered the hardship of the POW camps, and if anything, were well provided for through their childhoods, they suffered higher rates of mortality than the wider population. It appeared the POWs passed on some element of their trauma to their offspring. Okay? This is only one of many studies, by the way. Let me continue. But unlike most inherited conditions, this was not caused by mutations to the genetic code itself. Instead, the researchers were investigating a much more obscure type of inheritance. How events in someone's lifetime can change the way their DNA is expressed. And how that change, let me highlight some of this shit. And how that change can be passed on to the next generation. This is the process of epigenetics, where the readability or expression of genes is modified without changing the DNA code itself. Tiny chemical tags that are added to or removed from our DNA in response to changes in the environment in which we are living. These tags turn genes on or off, offering a way of adapting to changing conditions without inflicting a more permanent shift in our genomes. A nice family here showing a descendant, an ancestor, a descendant, an ancestor, I think, right? But these epigenetic changes required during life can indeed also be passed on to later generations. The implications would be huge. As Trump would say, huge. Your experiences during your lifetime, particularly traumatic ones, would have a very real impact on your family for generations to come. There are a growing number of studies that support the idea that the effects of trauma can reverberate down the generations through epigenetics. For the POWs, now notice, here's the thing. For the Confederate camps, this was one tiny event. I'm not belittling it. Those people died, and that's awful. Rest in peace to them. Right? The POWs in that camp, they died. My heart breaks for them. That's awful. However, that was one event during a war that lasted, I don't know, maybe a decade. My memory's fuzzy on the Civil War, but it wasn't no 200 or 300 years of slavery, of lynchings, of beatings, of rapes. For the POWs and these Confederate camps, these epigenetic changes were a result of extreme overcrowding, poor sanitation, and malnutrition. Let me check back in here. Okay, and let's go back. Just wanted to see who's in the room. The men had to survive on small rations of corn. Hold on, I missed one. For the POWs and the Confederate camps, these epigenetic changes were a result of extreme overcrowding, poor sanitation, and malnutrition. The men had to survive on small rations of corn, and many died of diarrhea and scurvy. Scurvy, I think, is when all your teeth fall out due to a deficiency in vitamin C. Let me ask a question here. This happened during the Civil War in one incident, right? And they mentioned extreme overcrowding, poor sanitation, and malnutrition. Is that any different than when Black Americans left slavery and were pushed into ghettos and these shanty towns? And then when they managed to rise up past their station and things like Black Wall Street, Mink Slide, Greenwood, right? When they managed to achieve greatness out of nothing, whites came in and burned the place to the ground, sometimes performing airstrikes with airplanes. So these things wouldn't cause any trauma. No. To continue here, There is this period of intense starvation, says study author Dora Costa, an economist at the University of California, Los Angeles. The men were reduced to walking skeletons. All right. Again, I feel really badly for these men. I feel bad, not badly. I feel really bad for these men. All right. It's an awful thing to have happen. But this happened one time. We're not even talking about slavery, which was a whole system. Costa and her colleagues studied the health records of nearly 4,600 children whose fathers had been POWs, comparing them to just over 15,300 children of veterans of the war who had not been captured. The sons of the POWs had an 11% higher mortality rate than the sons of non-POW veterans. Other factors such as the father's socioeconomic status and the son's job and marital status couldn't account for the higher mortality rate, the researchers found. This excess mortality was mainly due to higher rates of cerebral hemorrhage. The sons of POW veterans were also slightly more likely to die from cancer, but the daughters of the former POWs appeared to be immune to these effects. That's interesting. This unusual sex, that is interesting in another way also. Notice angry black men, right? The sisters get angry too, but nothing like the angry black man, right? Notice most of the time when these unfortunate conflicts with police happen in the streets, it's between, more often than not, black males and police, not black females and police. You do get your Sandra Bland's, right? And your Lakia Boyd, I forget what her name was. But it's usually an unfortunate incident between black American men and police. This unusual sex-linked pattern was one of the reasons that made Costa suspect that the health differences were caused by epigenetic changes. But first, Costa and her team had to rule out that it was a genetic effect. All right. The rest of this is science. The only thing is, we have to, especially as immigrants, when we come here, we tend to be very, very conservative, especially since we're scooped up. We're scooped up very often by the conservative movement so that they can actually say that we're better than African Americans, that we're the model minorities. Look how many Haitians come here and they make successes of themselves. Why can't you African Americans do the same? Why can't you pull yourselves up by your bootstraps? You know, why can't you ride on your own steam? Meanwhile, on the other side of that, the white supremacists doublespeak, right? The other side of that speak is, oh, Hebrew people, we can understand how you didn't live through the Holocaust, but however, you know, through epigenetic changes, we understand that you may have inherited some of that trauma. Here's some money. And the thing is, I have nothing wrong with that. That's good. They should get payments for what happened in Germany. All right? I'm a big supporter of Hebrew people. And their fight, I'm glad they won that fight and they have their own country, right? I'm a big supporter of that. However, you can't just have a double standard. You do for the Hebrews, you do for Native Americans, you do for the Japanese. Hell, they did for the Italians. A few Italians in, I don't know, the 1910s, 1920s, they were lynched here by mistake, which tells you how they used to see certain types of groups here. When the Irish came here, they were called the niggers of Europe. And then the Italians were called Guineas, as in New Guinea or Guinea, like in Africa. When some of the Italians got here, some of them got lynched. And a huge apology was sent back to Italy. We're sorry this happened. Shouldn't have been. You know, that shouldn't have been. And they got recompense for that. And so moving on, let's actually delineate that into the other topic, of the stream, which is one of my people out here wearing my uniform. A Haitian woman was used as basically a weapon against African Americans. This happened recently. Let me direct you to that right now. Now, before many of you go celebrating, because initially my immediate instinct was to celebrate as well. I said, Haitian student Christine Guillaume becomes Harvard Crimson's first black woman editor? Oh, fantastic. The only problem is that her position to have? Remember the trauma we were talking about? Who is owed that position? Who helped build Harvard? From my memory is a little fuzzy here, but I seem to remember that slave labor helped build a lot of these institutions. And slave money built this economy. Therefore, Harvard, and there could be even more connections that I'm not personally aware of, but therefore Harvard owes a debt to African American black people. Not Haitian black people, African American black people. Noted YouTuber and activist Yvette Carnell, shout out to her. She doesn't usually have politics that are in line with mine 100%, but on this occasion, I'm gonna have to yield completely to her. She said a lot of things that are very personal and very, offensive about Haitians in her protest to this particular hiring, right? And I won't go into that, but I support her 100%, even the insults, right? It's her anger to have. It's Yvette Carnell's anger to have, and it's righteous anger. And I'm gonna eat that. She even said, Haitians aren't black, all these sorts of things that I hear from the racist Hispanic side of YouTube. She parroted that same thing, but I'm gonna eat that. I'll take that from Yvette Carnell. It's her righteous anger to have, specifically because this occurred. A black woman will lead Harvard University's prestigious student newspaper for the first time since it was founded in 1873. Haitian Chinese student Christine E. Guillaume, 20, made history as, let me blow up the letters here, made history as the newly elected president of the Harvard Crimson. Her upcoming post had made headlines since it was announced earlier this month. Guillaume becomes the third black editor and the first black woman editor. Now, notice how they're using the word black here very loosely, okay? Again, I'm gonna ride on what Yvette Carnell said, okay? I'm gonna ride against my own narrative and saying this woman here is not black. She's not African American. She's not black. Not in this specific context, she is not black. She did not suffer through the killing fields and the torturous snuff film, the torturous extended snuff film that was American black history. She didn't suffer through that. Her ancestors didn't suffer through that. And if you tested her epigenetics, she did not inherit that trauma. So this debt is not owed to her. This position, and let's be honest here. There's a bigger pool, since white is the majority population. There's a bigger pool of people to choose from. So in terms of odds, there would never be a black woman editor if they didn't make a specific spot for a black woman editor, because by sheer numbers, we're outnumbered from the pool that they're choosing from. They would, like, maybe 9 times out of 10, even if they pick by random, right? Not by merit or whatever, by random, they would still end up with a white person. So the fact that she got this position, that spot was reserved. But you know who they gave it to? They gave it to her, an immigrant like myself. When I first got here to the United States, my mom and my other family members and we were given a lot of, let's call them privileges, that were not afforded to African Americans who lived right next door, either side of our residence. We were regarded differently. We were held up as hardworking black people. Why can't you Negroes be like them? They came from Haiti. They came up from under the French, a brutal regime. And look, when they got here, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're engineers. Why can't you be like them? Why are you standing on the streets, killing each other, smoking weed, smoking pot, selling weed, selling pot? They're doing that. Meanwhile, their scientific wing is extending pardons to other people. Yeah, we understand that you guys are misbehaving over there because of epigenetics. Things that happened in Germany, things that happened in the United States in the 1940s. These things affected you Japanese, you Hebrews, you American Indians. But these Negroes over here, why can't you get your act together? To continue here, Guillaume was appointed to this role after promising to guide the paper, which has struggled with diversity. See, that's a diversity hire. Now, the thing is, I'm not saying that she's not worthy of that spot. I'm saying by sheer number, like the law of averages, because white people outnumber us, right? White people would be more likely to be picked for that position because there's a wider pool. I'm restating this over and over so that I don't get taken out of context by the lowlives who come to the stream and then who do a playback and want to clip things out from what I say. That I'm calling someone a diversity hire. I'm not. I'm saying the specific context in which she was hired, that's a diversity hire. Which had struggled with diversity towards a more diverse, why are you using the word diverse twice? A diverse digital future, right? The New York, hold on, why didn't, look, let me read, who wrote this shit? Whoever wrote this, look, try this. It'll be better if you try this. Guillaume was appointed to this role after promising to guide the paper, which had struggled with progressiveness toward a more diverse digital future. Like, that way, you don't use the word diversity twice. It's clumsy. If my being elected, she says, if my being elected to the Crimson presidency as the first black woman, you're not black, not in this context, affirms anyone's sense of belonging at Harvard, she says, then that will continue to affirm the work that I'm doing. Again, these people are using the same words. This is driving me nuts. I have a pet peeve about this. Why are you using the same? We're using affirm twice. She took to Twitter to share the historic, exciting news with her fellow followers. Again, if you guys are not subscribed to Yvette Carnell, I don't basically endorse any other thing she says, but just for this, I would suggest going over there to Yvette Carnell's channel and at least, you know, watching the recent video she did on it. And again, everything she said, even the insults towards Haitians, I'ma eat all that. It's her righteous anger to have. It's hers. You know what I mean? Now, moving on to the third article. Klaus von what the fuck his name is, right? And, you know, Guillermo what's his nuts, when they were on the live stream, they had stated that South America is comparable to Africa in terms of what? Corruption and selling off the land. They're right and wrong at the same time. See, there's a lot of corruption happening in Africa, in the homeland, the motherland, right? But we're fighting it. We're fighting that thing. We took a L. This was a W here, but then we took a L, which I'll make another video, another stream about the L we took. We took a major L in Sierra Leone. I'll do another video about that. But the win that we made, this was a win. See, this is a finger in the eye of all the race realists, the so-called race realists. The people who are saying, we're not biased, we're based. We're not racist, we're realist. All these race realists who are saying, like, black people, that's why they invited all the white farmers back in Zimbabwe and South Africa, because these Negroes can't really farm. They're not smart enough to know the seasons and the movements of the stars and then the crops and the yield and the seasons to do all that and then to farm. So they have to invite the whites back even after they got all angry and uppity and kicked the farmers out. For the people who have said that stuff, right? They said even more things like, yeah, why are you posting all the cities you have here? Well, you know, white supremacists, the reason why I'm posting all the pictures of cities like the ones in Nigeria and Ghana and Kenya, all those big cities that look like fucking New York. The reason why I'm doing that is because you posted pictures of mud huts and people dancing, kicking dust past their ears, and you represented it at Africa. So I said, you know what? Let me do you a favor, since you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Let me take some photos of contemporary Africa and let me put it on your timeline. Yeah, well, these things were built and run and maintained by whites. If they were run and maintained by Africans, how long would that last? All right, so this is how long it would last, and this is the result that it would be. Ghana Gas replaces Chinese engineers, saves 3.5 million per month. That's a lot of cash. Okay? London, May 8th, 2021, Alt Africa. The Ghana Gas Company Limited has revealed, let me make sure the size is big for those of you who may have devices with tiny text. The Ghana Gas Company Limited has revealed that within the last 4 years, it has phased out the 52 Chinese expatriate staff running its technical operations at the Ataubo. I'm sorry, Ghanaians, if I mispronounce some of your local names. The Ataubo plant and the Western region. Look at these brothers here, these fine brothers, these fine upstanding gentlemen, with the foreman hats and all that. Fantastic. Love seeing it. With the traffic vest. Gotta have safety. I worked in a factory. You gotta have all that. All right. The only thing is with me, I had all that plus a Ghostbusters suit. I had a Ghostbusters jumpsuit. I looked like Winston from Ghostbusters. Ghana Gas replaces Chinese engineers, saves 3.5 million US dollars per month. This revelation was made by the chief executive officer of the company, Dr. Ben Asante, when he took participants of the gas conference currently going on at the Takoradi. I'm so sorry, Ghanaians. Takoradi, the Takoradi on tour around the plant to familiarize them with the company's operations. The conference has drawn together officials from the Ministry of Energy and various relevant sector agencies and other industry players to discuss strategic ways in which Ghana's gas resources can be maximized for the benefit of the nation. So, Klaus Von, what's your face? And, Guillermo, what's your nuts? This is what's going on in Africa. We got a big win. I hope and I wish and I send positive energy towards you so that you can have that same win over in South and Central America. All right? Take charge of your personal resources, your gas, your electric, your minerals, your oil, and all these sorts of things. All right? Take charge of your rubber. I hear rubber is big down there. Your rubber, your coffee, your crops, your coca leaves, all that stuff. Right? Take charge of all of it. Good, bad, and ugly. Okay, I wish the best for you, but with all due respect, that's not what's happening in Africa. In Africa, there's a whole war going on right now called the mine wars, where the Chinese are taking over mines, or they're trying to, and Africans are like, nah, no, right? As Denise says, no. He disclosed further that this move has saved the company about 3.5 million per month that it was paying the Chinese expatriate engineers. So they were making a grip. So if it's 50 guys, if it's 50 guys, right? If it's 50 Chinese guys and they were getting paid 3.5 million per month, they were making a grip. They were making a grip over there. Damn. He also stated that there was some skepticism when the idea was initially mooted. I don't know how they're using that word. Okay, that's fine. I yield to your intellect, guys. Given that there had been an earlier accident at the VRA plant, and disclosed that notwithstanding this, the initiative was pushed through. Accidents happen all the time. All right, if you're running a factory, that's the price of doing business. Accidents, like if you don't have an accident, you don't have a plant. It's guaranteed. It's the what do you call it? It's the law of averages. All right. So many people doing so many things, some of them doing the right thing, some of them doing the wrong thing, and all these moving parts at a factory, you're guaranteed to have at least one accident. If you're lucky, you get one accident per month. If you're lucky, probably get more than that. We certainly did. When I worked at a factory, the factory that I mentioned before, every month or so we had at least 3 accidents. They were not life-threatening by any means or stretch of the imagination, but they were accidents nonetheless. It's just the cost of doing business. Through its subterranean pipelines, I don't think we need to read the rest of this. Okay, so we made a major W on this. Okay, my fellow South and Central American, Hispanic brethren, Latino brethren, Latina sistren, I hope the same thing happens in your nation, that you take charge of your resources. Okay, now as a bonus, Disney is back at it. See, back in around 2015 or so, the Disney company marketed to China. I don't know if you guys can see this here. They marketed to China The Force Awakens, that film, the sequel trilogy to the Star Wars mythos or the Star Wars franchise, the Lucasverse. And on the Chinese, if you can see that here, on the English poster, there's this brother right here looking good with his lightsaber, dapper brother. Okay, they could have done something with that hairline though. It's a advanced society, and you got a jacked up hairline like this. That don't make no sense. You need to get that shaped up, my dude. Get that shaped up. Go get yourself to a barber. Get that shit did. Feel me? Get that trimmed up. But you see that brother here? He's missing from this poster. Actually, not missing, but shrunk down to the size of insignificant people down here. If you can see my mouse moving. The reason why this was done was because there's an idea that in China, they hate black people and they think black people are ugly, that black people are apes, they're monkeys, they're gorillas, these sorts of things, right? And the Chinese didn't do much to dissuade this because the Chinese consider themselves not politically correct, right? That's why they call liberals, they call gringo liberals, they call them baizuo, right? And that would be someone who's progressive, who's woke, who thinks everything is racist, sexist, and point it all out and sold them baizuo, and they don't want any of that stuff over there. A byproduct of that is, they probably over in China considered this a token kind of thing, and it is. It looks like tokenism, right? You got all these, white people here in space. White people are suddenly dominant for some reason, and then one brother. Right? Even these guys here, they're all white. Under those helmets, they're all white. And then one brother. And so the Chinese, I'm extending them the benefit of the doubt. They probably saw this poster, the English one, and they said, nah, that's baizuo. No. And they were like, nah, shrink that dude down. Shrink that nigga down. We don't do this tokenism shit around here. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because China is racist was the narrative that Disney tried to push. Disney and their representatives on Twitter, on YouTube, Instagram, they all tried to push the idea along that China is racist. However, and that China does not buy black products. China would never watch movies with black protagonists. God forbid. However, Michael Jai White, that brother, makes most of his money overseas in places like China, Southeast Asia, Japan, and all these places. And Asians love Michael Jai White. So what's up with that? The movie Rush Hour, maybe like a decade and a half to 2 decades ago, with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan, China loved that movie. L-U-V, capital, exclamation marks. Love that movie. The Fast and the Furious franchise. China loves it. And those men, I'm not pulling the posters up right now. Those black men in the film, Ludacris, Tyrese, they're prominent in those posters that are marketed to China. So what are you trying to say? This was an excuse. Stop playing. Stop playing. And so I think this is about to wrap up here. Let me get back to. Let me see what's going on. All right. So this has been kind of a quick broadcast, and I'm about to kind of yield my time to many other people who may be doing live streams at this time, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Right? Just know that you always have to stop and, think. And in the meantime, if you're a gambling man or woman or ex, remember,
Always bet on black.